This is my JF Muckspreader, more precisely JF AV40, right? I know there were smaller ones and bigger ones. There is a double axle one, I believe. Now this I have for about maybe 15 years, and of course, like all good projects, it sat idle just in the corner of the shed for donkey's years, maybe 10 years. And during COVID, with nothing to do and couldn't go anywhere, I said, right, time to hit this. There wasn't anywhere on the metalwork where the paint wasn't flaking, and of course all that paint had to come off. Now look at the amount of corners on this thing. This thing is beautifully made, absolutely beautifully made. Just a single beam running down there, and the supports for the floor running off at an angle. Drive shaft running down to the back, running down to the gearbox and out to the belt drives, which I'll show you in a minute. This shaft cover here, I have it here. This shaft cover was pitted so badly, I just said I can't use that again. But that was the state of it. And as you can see, now that's a light piece of metal, so that suffered the most. There was another piece, the piece here on top, the protection for the front bulkhead, light piece of metal as well, that was pitted badly through. But everything else was much more solid and survived. I could tell when I picked it up that this thing hadn't a lot of work done, and it turns out this machine only had 1 day's work done. The guy that bought it, he used it, and himself and his mate who was loading with a JCB, they worked it for 1 day, flat out for 1 day, and got most of what he needed to do done. And it was left in, and it turns out that the guy got sick, and he practically, I suppose, had to cut out the farming, and this just sat under a tree in a corner of a field. It has the original flaps here, which stop stuff from returning and hitting you in the cab. There's a few little marks, but consistent, I would say, with just a day's work. Beaters, you can see where they are just a little bit turned up. It's absolutely sound apart from the timber work, but the timber floor was, it was there. You could literally pick it up and crumble it. Now the sides weren't too bad, probably usable, but wouldn't look great no matter how much paint you put on them. So they got the full treatment, replacement treatment as well. The chains, perfect order again. They had to be sanded individually. Paint was flaked off them as well. Sanded individually, and about 3 coats of paint. Now, despite painting them and the standard I had them at before I put it back together, it doesn't look that way now, because when the chain is rotating, it rubs off a little guide, this little guide here underneath, to take it over these supports here, and it rubs on the guide, and it bloody well takes the paint off. But what can you do? Now I've put in a little timber piece there to raise the chain off the floor and raise the slats as well off the floor, so they won't be scratching the floor, because I've put so much effort into painting that floor. Now that floor would probably have been a red floor. Yes, I think it would have been a red floor coming from the factory, but I decided to paint it grey because it shows up the chains and the slats a little bit better, and but it doesn't look out of place because we have grey there as well, you know, and it's a kind of a working colour. It's actually Ferguson 20 grey, that's what it is. I just have one belt on here, and it's enough for just display purposes, but everything, I'll run it in a second, but just while the tractor's off, I'll just run through it with you now. A belt tensioner there, which you can release. It's easy enough to get the belt off, and beautiful mechanism here for moving the floor. On the back of this wheel, there's a little guide that this wheel runs on, and when the wheel is high, it or at least when the wheel is low, you'll see it when it works. This little thing here is a brake, so whatever bit it pushes forward, this brake prevents the floor from going backwards when the pressure of the beaters comes on the muck. And everything, of course, is making a racket, ratcheting away and clicking and whatever, but that's just the way it is. And adjustment here for speed of the floor. A lot of people say that these chains weren't a complete success. I don't know, I've never used them in anything. I guess like everything else, if it's overloaded, you put a lot of pressure on these pieces, but these are very easy to take apart, take out a link. You have little wheels in here for the chain, so yeah, we'll run it. This part never gets old. You can see the cam that this arm is working on. Just imagine there's a cam behind that. See the floor running on the chains running on that little piece of 20 mil of timber there, and that keeps the slats off the floor and the chain off the floor, so all the scratches here are just on that little piece of timber. This is it, worked out well. I would love to do a bigger model, something a bit beefier. This seems to suit the 4000 type size tractor. I know the 4000 is a little bit rough, but that's a project too that'll be sorted out in time. But yeah, I would like to get my hands on a bigger one, and been through the process once, I know what's involved, and but I am not going to get a machine as good as this again. You know, like I said, this has no work done, and sitting under a tree. I'm just trying to think about there, sitting under a tree maybe for 25 years, and but it still works good. I'm sorry I haven't any photographs or video from when it was in the original state, but you have an idea. Catch you again.